to A Well-Designed Business. My name is Luann Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company Window Works from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. It's WTF, Window Treatment Friday. Thank you so much for joining me. I want to first share with you that this episode is sponsored by Exciting Windows. That's right. Exciting Windows is the new company that Bill and Vin and myself have invested in. And we are now the managing partners of this company. And we're excited to tell you that we have a conference coming up this April 20th and 21st. It is actually the 17th annual conference for Exciting Windows. At Exciting Windows, we are literally a think tank of some of the brightest minds in the window treatment industry, where we are comprised of window treatment retailers from all across the country. And we every day work and strive to build a better business with better customers. And our focus is exactly that for the conference this year. It's a 2-day conference. It's virtual. Here's the funny, crazy thing about this conference. If you are a member of Exciting Windows, the conference is $325. But if you are a non-member of Exciting Windows, it's only $99. Okay? Because if you are a non-member of Exciting Windows, you can only come to this conference one time before you must decide, do you want to join or not? So what we do is basically we roll out our red carpet, we all come together and we do our thing, which is supporting, collaborating, and educating each other. On conference like this, our annual conference, we always have guest speakers. So this year we have Rick Harshaw. He is a home improvement authority, and his specialty, his niche is on growth. Okay, so he works with big companies on teaching them how to maximize and grow their firms. And then we have Stacy Brown Randall, who you know, she was one of the co-authors in my second book, and she is the ninja is the woman that teaches you how to get referrals without asking. So Stacy is going to be with us. And we also have Stephanie and William Hamilton from Hamilton Creative Solutions. And these two particular people are dynamos in all things social media marketing. And in particular, we're going to be discussing with them at the conference Instagram strategies. Okay, so the thing about this particular conference, Exciting Windows, is our magic at Exciting Windows is our think tank / mastermind quality. So what happens for example, in our conference, I might come on and I might do a presentation about something. Vin might come on and do a presentation about something. But then when we have, like, say, a third presentation of the day, we'll break out into individual Zoom rooms now. We used to do it in person and break out into groups, but individual Zoom rooms of really less than 10 people per Zoom room. And we'll spend an hour talking about the lessons learned and how we could implement them in our business. And it's so interesting to hear what one person hears and another person doesn't, and then vice versa. And so we have this built in 3 or 4 times over the course of 2 days where we're learning and then we break out and we talk together because as I said, it's a think tank and we are so accustomed as a group in Exciting Windows. We get together multiple Thursdays every month for an hour by Zoom. Each Thursday has a different topic and we talk about the different things. So one might be all about our numbers and about our gross profit margins and yada yada. And then another session can be like an open, we call it Coffee with the Steves, and we just pick a topic and we throw it around and we talk about it. So So the thing is, the $99 is designed to encourage you if you have been thinking, what is exciting windows? Like, do I really want to join this? And so that is why that it is, but it's only one time. Like if you want to come next year, you can't. You got to join or you can't, because that's how we do it. All right. So if you're interested in learning more about this conference that's taking place on the 20th and 21st, it's excitingwindows.com/conference 2021. That's excitingwindows.com/conference 2021. And of course, me and the Vin Man will be there, and Billy and Steve and all of our colleagues at Exciting Windows. So, all right, now today's episode. Let me tell you what, today's episode is an uplifting episode. But when you learn what happened, it could have been anything but uplifting. And I have to tell you that it is, the proof is in what you and I have been learning about Vita. Me for the last 3.5, 4 years, you for the last 2 years, about Vita and the way she runs her business and the care and attention that she takes to creating her systems and processes. And so I'm going to leave it at that and just let you hear the episode and learn what happened and learn how she managed it and learn how she mitigated something that really could have been extremely devastating. So, all right, without further ado here, let's get to the conversation with Vita. Hi, Vita. Thanks so much for joining me for another episode of WTF. How are you, lady?
I'm good, Luann. I'm okay. Thank you for having me. Different circumstances, different kind of show, but still love hanging out with you.
So this is the thing, Vita. March 5th, 2021. Very recently, your studio burned down. And, people might think, what the heck are they doing? Pulling podcast episodes, putting in a recording, putting this out there. But when you and I were talking within, I guess, a week of it happening, you said a few days of it, right? You said to me, Luann, not for nothing, but all the walk that I've been walking and all the talk I've been talking for the last year on WTF about having really locked down systems, having my Airtable flow finite, having all of those Excel spreadsheets that I love, really paid off because within 2 days, you had your business up and running again, didn't you?
Well, so yes, indeedy. So the fire happened on Friday, and then that Monday, a couple of days later, you Voxer me and you say, lady, we're supposed to have our session tomorrow, our coaching session. And you're like, I'm assuming this is not happening. And I think like within a second, I'm like, hell no. I'm still talking to you every month. I need to have my Luann fix. Fire, hell, cold water, hot water, whatever, however else that saying goes. I'm getting my Luann fix. So we had a good conversation as we always do. And then a few days later, I think on a Saturday, you Voxered me and you're like, Vita, hey girl, thinking about you, just wondering how you're doing. And then you're like, listen, I just wanted to tell you, I don't know if you remember this. You're like, I just wanted to tell you, if you need to break down, if you need to cry, if the milk spills and you start losing it, just know that it's not about the milk. Just know it's not about the milk. I remember Voxering you back and I'm like, Luann, milk has not spilled yet. I'm waiting for it to spill. I'm almost like wanting it to spill. I'm truly wishing for an opportune time that it does, because I don't want my meltdown to happen in the middle of a regular Tuesday. But so far it hasn't, and so far we're in good, as good as it can be spirits. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about it is that from the Friday that you called me, I just was, just dumbfounded. And by, like you said, by Monday, I'm thinking, oh, this has got to be chaos over there. And you're like, no, let's have our coaching session. And then in the session, you're like, and this, and I downloaded that, and I've already called every designer, and I've got every single fabric cataloged, and I exactly know what I have to order to replace all the product that's on the shelves. And I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
And it really is the testament to the way how well organized your business is. And that is, something we're going to talk about today, but you're also alluding to that what I kept noticing. So it was Friday, your reaction Friday, and even explaining it to me. And then Monday, the check-in, and then Tuesday, the coaching call, and then the following Saturday, the check-in again, is that you really have just gone into go mode, and which is amazing. And I feel like that on one hand, getting into go mode is, believe me, I know that mode. I live in that mode. It's
Yep.
my happy place, right?
If anybody, yeah, you're the queen of that mode,
Well,
lady.
but I just mean to say that I think it's good because there's no point sitting around complaining when something can be done about something. But I did also really want to make sure that you understood that it might not all be okay. It might not, just because it is actually okay, and just because your business was so highly organized that you could retrieve all of the information so easily at your fingertips, that you still could sit around in a puddle of mud and cry about it if you wanted to, right? Like that's what and I didn't want you to think with me, because I was making such great observation about how you were rising and handling it, that you couldn't, if you had that moment, let me know. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like I didn't want you to be, well, I just
Strong, just for
collapsed.
the point of being
Yeah,
strong. Yeah.
exactly. Like there's
Yeah,
no
of
point in
course.
being
Tell you
friends or
everything,
all
Luann.
of that, right? Okay. Okay. So we've well established that over the last couple of weeks. I keep saying, "Are you sure you're still okay? Are you
I
sure
know.
you're still okay?"
I'm like, I think I'm okay. Should I pinch myself? Should I slap myself on the cheek? I think I'm all right.
I know.
But you know what? The thing is, though, what the point that you're making is well taken, um, and well understood. And I wouldn't be truthful of me to say that I haven't had moments, many moments, where I was on the verge of tears, and sometimes in tears. I mean, truly, there have been tears for sure. um, and that I haven't kind of wallowed for a little while, and I kept asking myself, why me? Why did it happen? Why is the universe punishing me? What's happening here? Why, all these questions, why, that you really don't have the answer to. And so part of the reason that I think I am able to be where I am today is because of the systems and the business side of it, and we can get into that. But also the big part of it, Luann, is the mindset work. And the mindset work that I've been doing actually for some time prior to this whole thing happening is the whole kind of thought, feeling, action model. And essentially what it means is that your actions are driven by how you feel. You want to either amplify a feeling or get rid of a feeling, and the feelings are driven by thoughts. And so when I found myself thinking, why me? Why? What did I do wrong? Why is God punishing me? I started to realize that those are the questions that I don't have answers to. And it just sends me into a perpetual loop, and really does not serve me, as in it doesn't I don't have the answers to that. Eventually they will show up, and those silver linings will show up, and some sort of long-term lessons will show up, of that I'm sure, but the immediate answers to the questions are not apparent, and perhaps those are not even the questions to be answered. Maybe there are different questions to be answered, and I don't even know what they are yet. And so once I started kind of understanding and realizing and pulling myself out of that why, what's wrong with the world, everything's ganging up against me, I started replacing it with other thoughts. And those thoughts are, I can do it. What can I do? Well, here's what I can do. Here is the next step, and here's the step after that. And so and you know me as a productive person, as an efficient person, usually as a positive person. So it's possible for me to replace the thoughts that spin you out of control with thoughts that are more positive and productive. And then those thoughts then create the feelings for me of, yes, I can, yes, I will, I'm doing it. It's positive. It's okay. I can do it, and we can do it together. And therefore, the actions follow. See what I'm saying? So,
I do. And what I want to ask you is, I have to, you're saying that this mindset work was done back, not in this last 2 weeks. This is mindset work that you were doing. It has to be years ago, because in the 3 years I know you, I don't know that Vita. That's why me. Why am I being punished? So are you saying that the mindset work that you've done years ago really came into place and helped you in this situation today?
so the mindset work I have been doing probably ever since I became an entrepreneur, and I think all of us listening to anytime any one of us who decides to start your own business and present ourselves and sell essentially our services and our value to somebody else, it's almost like we don't have a choice. But really, if we were to be successful, we don't have a choice but to start that kind of or some kind of mindset work, whether it's this particular model or some other one. But there's got to be some mindset work involved in that, where you put yourself in the in the positive state of mind so that you can produce inspired action. Now, to your point of, you don't know me in the last 3 years as the person who says, why me and why now, what's happening, why is it punishing? It was just a sort of, I think, a natural reaction to a crisis, to a disaster. I'm not sure if I had a disaster in the last 3 years, Luann, that we've been, closely together. So it was just a natural coping, or initial rather coping mechanism that my body kind of produced, but that I ultimately had to pull myself out of that.
So
Hope
you
that
did
makes sense.
experience it for what, a hot minute during this thing, that why me, why am I being punished? Is that what you're saying? See, that's where I'm lost. What I'm lost
Okay.
on is did you have those thoughts this time, but because of the mechanisms you learned how to switch them, or the work that you did on mindset in previous, those thoughts didn't even enter? You went right to, what can I do? What is there for me to stay? You know what I'm saying? Which is chicken and egg?
So what I'm saying is that when the fire happened on the 5th of March, I've definitely thought, I've had the thoughts of, why did this happen to me? Why is God punishing me? What did I
Okay.
do wrong for this to happen to me? Everything was going so well. All the business elements and pieces were falling into place, and the personal life is like, things have been so good. Why is this disaster all of a sudden happening? It's like, think of any disaster. A person
Mm-hmm.
has cancer, a person
Okay.
gets into an accident, God forbid somebody dies. It's a natural reaction.
Sure.
Why me? What did I do wrong? So
Okay.
yeah, I absolutely had that reaction.
Okay. Okay. I
What I'm
just wanted
saying
to be
is,
clear on the
yeah,
timeline.
yeah. So, and what I'm saying is, because I am very intentional about my thought process and conscious of my thoughts, I think the reason that I feel right now, right as of this moment, okay. And with all of your check-ins, we're like, Vita, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, I think I'm okay. I'm all right. And I think the reason that I am truthfully able to say that and not pretend is because of the mindset work that I've done. That's my point. Now,
Understood.
am I saying that the breakdown will not come? It probably will. And I'm, like I said before, I hope that it does, and I hope that it comes soon, for Christ's sake, because I'm like sitting on the edge of my seat waiting for this thing to happen, for Christ's sakes.
Okay, can you just let that go now? Okay, so now I'm going to stop checking in and asking how you're doing, because that's also, you're also chasing your tail, right?
Right,
So just
exactly.
let it
That's
go.
exactly it.
It
I'm like a
doesn't
little
matter.
dog chasing my thing. Come on already. Come
Exactly.
on.
Don't
Let me
worry
have
about
the
it.
ugly cry and
Yeah,
get it
no.
over with.
You're either going to have it or you're not going to have it. It doesn't matter. There's no
Right.
requirement to have it. You're not bound to have it. My only reason in continuing to bring it up to you was so that you did not feel like you could not look or appear to be less than completely stand up strong in front of me. That's all.
Yeah.
That's the
Oh,
only reason.
yeah. Yeah. No, I
Okay.
get
So we're
that.
going
I
to
mean,
stop
you've
worrying
seen me,
about
you've
it.
seen me ugly cry sobbing. Are you kidding?
Well, I
I
know,
don't
but
have
you
that
had.
fear at all.
Yeah, no, but when you stand up really tall and straight from the beginning, it's like, I didn't want you to think that you couldn't, like, a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks later now have the like, holy crap, now I need to just sit here in a puddle of mud. Okay, so we're done thinking about and talking about that, okay? Because if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Like, whatever, move on. We don't have it hang over your shoulder. Don't have it hang over your shoulder. Just let it roll. Just let it roll. Just like you've been
Coach
doing
Luann will
everything.
be the first one to know, I promise.
Okay, okay, okay. But we're not looking for it anymore. If it happens, we'll
Okay.
deal with it. If it doesn't, we don't care. We don't care. Okay. The thing about it is like part of the, I'm really, my brain went, well, am I going to stick to the business side or am I going to go into the mindset side? Because there's so
Yeah.
much in the mindset side. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take 2 minutes to give you my observations on the mindset side. And then we're going to transition right back to how you were able to organize your business so quickly. Okay. Because that is
Yeah.
really the fundamental lesson that I wanted to get across is, it really drives home this, message of processes and systems and documentation that we've been saying for the podcast for the 5 years, but veering into the mindset side. Okay. I'm going to go out on a limb here and just say, I do not believe that there is a such thing as punishment from other places and things, universe, gods, whatever you want to call them. I just think that it is a waste of your time to think about things like that. Because to your point, until you actually die and find out if there is a maker or not, it's an irrelevant thought. Okay. It's a waste of energy and time. And I'm probably going to get mail on this. I'm probably going to get things on this, like, you crazy, crazy lady, you. Okay. I've said it, and if I wasn't on record in saying this in, presentations I've given, podcasts I've been on, other shows, the thing to me when something happens, crisis, little mistake, big crisis, is to find the lesson. That's what it is. Everything, I believe, is put in front of us to teach us a lesson. It is not put in front of us as punishment. Now, if you don't learn your lesson, you are technically punished with the same challenge over and over again. But, it's not externally happening. You know what I'm saying? Like, that whole concept that somebody is or sitting somewhere and saying, Vita's just a little too happy right now.
Right,
Bang.
right. Things are just a little too good for her.
Like, it's
Let me
just
throw.
such an illogical thought. It's literally an illogical thought. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I may, like I said, get tons of mail, and it's so be it. I'm a little too old to worry about what I think is what I think and is what I think. And so I have to say that I do believe in your conversation today, are very likely to uncover a possibility of an aha what a lesson might be. So we're going to get back to that. Okay. So here's the thing. One of the things I want to set the table on, you have currently 138 active projects across 12 interior designers. That is a tremendous, we talk about it all the time with you and I on the show when we say, a designer might have 10 or 20 projects in a year. We can have 100, 200, 300 in a month. And so here you are, 138 active projects with 12 different designers. And the thing is that you were able to put your hands on all the documentation, all the measurements, all the fabrics, all of the details, all of the work orders, all of that, because your business is what we say, you're the spreadsheet queen. And so, thinking about what you were able to do in that first weekend was to evaluate, download, get all of that information, and then you went on and you had a personal conversation with each one of those designers, right?
So the very first thing in terms of business that I did was okay, let me just step back. There are two important things in terms of technology and processes that I would want to communicate. Number one is every business that is an interior designer or window treatment specialist needs to have, of a certain size, of course, it needs to have a project management system. Ours is based in Airtable, and it is a web-based application. There's a lot of people that use Asana. There's a Monday Morning. There's probably many other things. Whatever it is, it's a web-based application, and it's a database into which you put all of your information. Now, garbage in is garbage out. So whatever information you put needs to be useful in order to get useful information out of it. And because we have spent the last 2.5 or so years really perfecting our flows in Airtable in this project management system, I was able to, on Saturday morning, run very, very quickly, actually, run a report of our active designers. Now, all in all, we work with approximately, I think we have like, I want to say 70 designers in our database, but that doesn't mean that all 70 had active projects with us. And in terms of, and what I mean by active right now, those would be in what we call expediting stage, which means that we received the deposit from the client and we had their fabric. So we had the goods that we either purchased or the goods that we were storing that we were waiting to fabricate for the installation. So we had 138, well, no, that's less than 130. No, it's 138 projects across 12 designers, yes. And I was able to run that report of those 12 designers, and I made it a point after talking to my family and talking, like extended family, and talking to friends and letting them know what happened, to reach out to those designers, because I thought that that was a decent thing to do and really important thing in terms of communicating. One of our core values at Vitalia Inc. is exceptional organization that translates to our ability to have exceptional communication with our clients. And so, being true to that value, I did make personal phone calls, first text, then phone calls to my designers on a Saturday night, and they're calling me back. They're like, "Vita, is everything okay? What's wrong? Why are you doing this on Saturday night?"
Right.
And I'm like, everything is okay. The most important thing is that I'm okay. My staff is okay. We're all safe. We're good. And then I went into the whole story, of course. So everybody who was active with us knew about what happened over the weekend.
Right.
And then everybody else learned on Monday.
Right. Well, and the thing about it is that was such a good business decision to do, because if I'm designer Sally Smith and I just, sent, $2,000 or $3,000 worth of cravat fabric, and I know they reached your destination, I'm thinking, whoa,
Yeah.
I've got my fabric there. What's going to happen? And if I didn't hear from you right away, what happens is, of course, any human being is first going to be concerned about you and your staff and your business. But if I don't hear from you pretty quickly, secondarily, I'm pretty much moving into, and what about my business? What about
Right.
my customers? And what about my
course.
clients that I promised draperies to? So
Right.
I was really, really smart. And the fact that you were able to, I think the key thing here is that you were able to identify easily, because of your systems, exactly who those projects were and what they were. It reminds me of when Sandra Funk was on the podcast last year at the very beginning of COVID. And she just said, you know what? We closed down because of COVID. We had, Jersey closed down and we had to work remote. And she said, and we didn't miss a beat because our whole business is really, based on,
Virtual.
the things.
cloud.
Yeah. And, look, I can't say that about WindowWorks. I cannot say that about WindowWorks. We have a lot that is, but not to the level that you are. And so that really, to both of us, we were like, well, that really does prove everything that Vita said for the last year. So I thought that was good. And then, of course, you went into the go mode of, moving all of your sewing tables and your machines and everything to your garage, and changing the address and rerouting packages and setting up the garage, and kicking your poor husband out of his home office.
Relegated to the upstairs spare bedroom. Yes. There are a lot of like those practical mechanical things that had to happen. So really, in the first 48 to 72 hours, I would say the buckets in which were operated were physical setup of the office and the workroom. That was number one. Number two was communication with active designers from whom we had fabrics and products. And um, and number three was talking to my CPA to understand how I'm supposed to record all of this and how I'm supposed to financially track all of this, because expenses started to happen right away. And number four, there are those practical matters of changing the mailing address and rerouting the shipments and calling insurance claims and canceling services like Pico and that's electricity and Verizon, that sort of thing. So those were kind of like the four buckets in which we operated for the first two to 3 days. And then once we were mostly set up physically wise, once my seamster was set up in terms of his machines and the table and supplies, once my general manager and the window treatment specialist, Lisa and Beata, they were set up in terms of their places where they could work. So that was the physical part of it. And those initial communications taking place with designers where essentially I told them, this is what happened. We are okay. Your fabrics are not, but it is my responsibility to replace those. So just rest assured that it will be done, but please hang tight. And I will get back to you in a couple of days to let you know. So those were the initial steps. So that's like the initial checklist for anybody who's taking notes, who's getting ready for, the unforeseeable fire. So what happened next, Luann, for that entire week? We went into the action mode of creating detailed schedules of all the fabrics and product, hardware and hard goods that needed to be replaced. And so I told you about the Airtable and how, so I can look at the Airtable. So for example, and we've been looking at it right now. And one of the designers with whom we had a lot of business. And you know what? P.S. By the way, step back. January was the biggest month I've ever had. Okay, ever. Okay. Then February was the biggest month I've had after January, like even bigger yet. Okay.
I know.
And by the way, by March 5th, that was biggest month, even bigger than January and February.
I know.
Like by March 5th. Like, how is that? Like, see, that's what I mean. Like, why?
Well, we're going to get to it.
In these mysterious, weird ways.
Yeah.
Imagine the amount of inventory that we would have been holding in order to sustain those kind of months.
Well, so and that's the thing, because so typically for window treatment professionals, for most of the industry, but definitely for us, January and February are slowest months 1 and 2. And I'm going to tell you at Window Works, after 40 years, we just had our best January ever, our best February ever, and March is like literally projecting to be like a June. And we're just like, what is going on? Right.
Yeah. So you feel it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yep. Okay. So with Airtable, with this project management system that we had set up, I can take a project. Let's say I'm looking at a page now, and it's customer McGinnis for a designer house edits. Anita, a wonderful, lovely designer who, by the way, on another PS, listens to your podcast, and she found me through this podcast.
Aww.
It was exactly a year ago, the day before lockdown.
Wow.
that we started working together. I know. And I remember she called me prior to that appointment, and she said, I learned all about you through Luann and the podcast, and I've wondered for some time, really thought how great it would be if you were local, that we could work together. And then she's like, wait a second, you are local. I can't work with you. So anyway, so we still have a ton of projects with Anita. And of course, she was the very first one that I called that Saturday. And then after all of those communications were done, now we go into all of her clients. And so let's say that's client McGinnis. We're doing her whole house. So let's say that's like 10 spaces. So let's say in the loft, we're doing drapery panels, and let's say they have fabric A and fabric B, and then there is, let's say, a horizon shade and let's say hardware, right? So there's 4 components that go into the loft alone. So I can tell based on my project management system that fabric A has been received and lost, therefore I need to replace it. Hardware, fabric B, I did not receive yet, so I may have to reorder it. Hardware, we ordered but have not received, thank God, so we don't have to replace it. The shade, we did receive, it's lost, now we have to replace it. Now, this is a somewhat hypothetical. Anita, if you're listening, Law McGinnis is not exactly like it. It's slightly hypothetical, but it really illustrates the point that I'm making. And the point is this: based on this project management system, I can tell exactly which fabrics have been received, which fabrics we were supposed to but didn't quite yet, so we're not liable for it. So we know what we need, what we're responsible for replacing, and what we're not responsible for replacing. So that's the point of the project management system. Now, the next question becomes, okay, so if you're responsible for this fabric A, what the hell is fabric A? Like, what is it? Like, how do you know that it's a Stout or a Schumacher or whatever vendor, right? What's the spec? Like, what's the item? How do you replace it? So one way of doing it is to call all of those 12 designers and to go through every one of your 138 projects and try to restore that list. Thankfully, we didn't have to do that. And that's another part of that system that we have set up in terms of cloud-based and not everything being on paper. So number 1 being the project management system, and number 2 being our estimates. Now, those estimates, they are done in Excel, but they don't have to be done. Maybe somebody else uses Google Sheets or some other application. The point is that it is web-based and it's not in a paper format somewhere in your drawer. So we were able to go back through all of our detailed estimates and pull the fabric information and the specs, the exact item number and the exact color and the exact yardage per room per customer. So instead of manually rebuilding that list, I just went into 138 projects that are in Excel and copied and pasted that information into a new Excel spreadsheet, then sorted it by designer, then sorted it by vendor so that I can see that these 10 fabrics I need to order from Cravat, and these 12 fabrics I need to order from Stout, and so forth.
It's crazy. It's crazy. It's amazing. And it's terrific that you have it. That's the thing. And it's just what you've been talking about, like we said, for the last year, how highly organized. And these are the systems that are saving you in this process of having had the fire, but these are the systems that support you in running the projects so efficiently for the designers. You know, in good times when there is no crisis, it's having all of this locked down that enables you to really efficiently run the projects. So good.
And so, thank you. And so there's also, I want to make a distinction. It's one thing so number 1 is to have a system, and it's important to have it, to develop it, to make sure to, perfect it or get it to a certain point of it being really good. But then the next step is to actually follow it because, garbage in, garbage out.
That's right.
So let's say this example, we'll take this example of detailed estimate that we provide to all of our designers once we receive the deposit and we have the fabric information in it. Now, some designers are really good about giving us that information during the appointment because they will have already selected the fabric. Now, of course, it doesn't always happen because there's too many design elements that need to go into the project, so they don't have the fabric. Completely understandable. But then eventually they give us that fabric information. So that's the good case scenario. Now, Luann, you and I both know that the bad case scenario is all of a sudden the fabric just shows up.
That's right.
And it's a good day if the fabric is side marked, but most often it just says bedroom. And you're like, okay, I've never seen this fabric. I don't know who the designer is. I don't know what the project is. But hey, great. I know it goes into the bedroom. Okay, so my point with this is that yes, I do have the system of creating the detailed estimates, and that's how we communicate with our customers so that they know exactly what we're fabricating for them and exactly how it's installed and all those details that go into everything that we do. But another thing that I'm really enforcing, and we try to be good about it. We'll call it 80-20. We're good about it to 80% of the time, is if we didn't get that information from the designer during the appointment or thereafter, we go after, like, we really hound them to give us that information so that when the fabric is received, we know what it is that we're receiving and we're receiving it properly. So if it says Cravat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 color ash, we actually can match it to the label and know that we indeed received Cravat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 color ash.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So
I hadn't thought about that when you were telling me over the last couple of weeks about the Airtable and having all the information at your fingertips. I hadn't considered the layer of all the times that the information does come incomplete from the interior designers, and that happens. I mean, we just had it last week with the fabric log. We quoted X amount of yards for a project. It was a multi-room project, house with multi-rooms, the same as you're mentioning. And how it comes up is because we've got Jessica, who's rather new with us, and she's marking in fabrics. And here it's saying on the purchase order, like you said, Cravat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 color ash, 12 yards. But what comes in is that side mark, that designer's client side mark name, that room, but the fabric is Cravat 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 color blue. Mm-hmm. Same amount of yardage. And so she's looking at, us saying, well, I don't get this. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. I don't get it either. Now we got to call, sweetie. You know what I'm saying? And say, what happened? Because, and I had to explain to her that what we don't know now is, did the designer change their mind on the fabric? Yep. Did the company ship the wrong fabric? Like, what happened? Or is it the right fabric? The designer didn't change it, and it's just typo with a label. Like, all the things could happen. It's like nuts, Right. And so I hadn't thought about the rabbit holes of those. Even if there's only 7 things like that out of the 138, the rabbit hole of tracing it all the way back could be challenging.
Yeah. And that's why we really try to make it a point to, let's take your scenario, and what we were expecting does not match what actually comes in, then we have that conversation with the designer and say, hey, Mrs. Designer, is this a mistake? Did you reselect? And, 8 times out of 10, it's like, oh, yeah, we reselected because aqua wasn't available, but blue was close enough, and, all the right reasons. And that's okay, but then what we really try to do, Luann, is, and this is a distinction between having a system and executing a system. There are 2 very important things that really do need to go hand in hand. And so once we understand from this designer that blue really is the color, we go back into our detailed estimate and change that color to blue, so that a year from now we can look back and say, yep, that was blue. Or 3 years from now, it's like, what was that fabric? And we need a headboard or a bed skirt or, I don't know, some other thing. We need to know what it is. And so in this case, in this crisis, in this devastation where every minute matters, we actually, of the 130, we had all that information, and we were able to pull together that comprehensive spreadsheet. But I have to tell you, even with all of that, even with all of our systems, even with our trying to be as good as possible on the execution, even with us putting together it into a spreadsheet, which makes it much easier than to sort and to manipulate essentially the data, Luann, it took good 4 to 5 days to place all of the orders.
Oh, I can't imagine.
So we're recording today is what? I'm losing the count, the side of days now, but I think today is week 2 after the fire. It pretty much took that entire week after the fire to place all the orders. Now, why might one ask, the hell does it take so long? Here's the thing. it's not a straightforward order. It's not like you go into eastout.com or Kravit.com and just place that order. We had to go through, a lot of times, through a sales rep, um, or we had to reactivate an account, or we had to create an account. There were some fabrics with whom we didn't have accounts at all, so we created our own.
Plus,
There
you're trying
were,
to get the dye lots. You've got to turn around. You can't just place an order online. You've got to call
yeah,
and say, this is the
yeah,
piece I originally had. Do you have dye lot from that piece left? Because the designer's got CFAs on that piece, and that all matches all the other nonsense that's in the space. I mean, you can't just replace the fabric willy-nilly. And if that
yeah.
dye lot's not available, I got to believe you got to turn around and get a CFA of the current dye lot and get it approved and all the things. Plus, I'm sure you thought about it. We're asking our vendor partners for a little love. Like, I've got to replace this at my
Yeah,
cost. Can you give
yeah.
me an extra discount, right?
Yeah, and I have to, yeah, there, all of those conversations were taking place, and there's so much back and forth on this. You're like back and forth and back and forth. You just can't just, go and place it straightforward. And then another thing that happens is, the fabric is not available in one piece,
Right.
right?
With
We
the
know that. So
cuts.
they come back
Oh
to you
my
and say,
God.
you requested 17 yards, but it's available in a 2, 5, and 13 yard piece. Which
Right.
ones can you take? Oh my God. So anyway, 4 to 5 days later, we're finally feeling like we do have that part of it locked down 100%. And then, so I was in charge of reordering all the fabrics, and then Lisa, our general manager, she was taking care of reordering all the hardware and all the hard goods too. So a
I mean,
week later,
when I think about so many window treatment businesses in particular, it could be 2 or 3 weeks before they pick their head up and even start to piece together the information if their systems weren't as finite as yours and on the cloud the way yours were. So it's pretty remarkable. The thing is, Vita, that's just one part of the challenge in all this. And so,
yeah.
as we're saying, for you, it was actually much more manageable than it would be for dozens and dozens of other window treatment companies across the country. But even with your level of organization, there's those challenges. But then, here's the challenge. You're ordering fabrics 3 days after a fire, and you don't have a claim that's been approved by the insurance company. Now you're literally putting your own finances, your own personal savings on the line to front this money, because you could have chosen to say, well, I can't do this. And other business owners might have been in the position where I actually cannot do this until an insurance file is resolved. So what's happening
Yeah.
on that front?
Well, so this on this front, this is now taking us into this part of the conversation takes us into the realm of make sure to protect yourself. As a business owner, you need to make sure that you're protected. Now, what does that mean? The first natural thing, of course, to think is to have the right insurance. And there's absolutely no question you need to have the right insurance. And Luann, a little bit earlier in the episode, you said through this conversation, we will find out what was the biggest lesson for me.
Mm-hmm.
This is the biggest lesson for me.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to me, and I think what hopefully, well, maybe not hopefully, I hope nobody can associate with me because I don't want anyone else to be in this position. But my business grew in the last 2 years. It grew by a lot. And not only did it grow financially, but it grew physically. I outgrew my house. We moved into the studio. We purchased equipment. I hired people. It was a true story of scaling in the last 2 years. And I was so busy doing that. I had my head so wrapped up in going on appointments and putting together estimates and satisfying the clients and worrying about the installations and on the phone calls with vendors to make sure that this roller shade comes in just in time for that appointment and hiring and all the things, right? All the things. I was so busy in all the things that one very important task fell off my to-do list. And actually, to be honest, it didn't fall off. I actually went back into ClickUp where I keep the comprehensive running list of to-dos, and it's still there. And guess where it is? It is way, way on the bottom. So far on the bottom, I lost visibility to it. Let's put it that way. And that one really important task, Luann, is to make sure that my insurance coverage grew with my business. So it is heartbreaking to admit and embarrassing, and I am so angry with myself, but it does not look good on that front at all. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. So I beg you guys listening to me right now, please don't be, as smart as I am, all the things that, that you tell me how smart, and I'm organized and I'm a spreadsheet, this, that, and the other thing, I was absolutely downright stupid and foolish to get so wrapped up in the growing of my business that I forgot to grow the protection of my business.
Wow. So here's the thing. We also have an insurance agent that's asleep at the wheel too.
There are a lot of people that I could be blaming right now.
No. I get it.
I'm circumstances.
Right. But see, reason. No. I'm not going. It is not the blame game because that doesn't serve anybody, you, me, or anybody else. We always have to go back. What I say, rewind it. Where could you have done something different? So you could have been the proactive partner, to your point, and saying, "Hey, I got to revisit. I'm renting a space now. I've got more equipment. Do I need more insurance?" All day long, I hear you, Vita. But I also am the kind of person that expects the people I hire to do their job well. Okay, so great if I catch it. Great if I'm not asleep at the wheel. But it sounds like to me we have an insurance agent asleep at the wheel too. Just taking the money, taking the premiums, and not checking in. Not calling each year and saying, "Hi, Vita, how you doing? Is there anything new in your business?" Because you know what it's making me think of? It's making me think of Peter Lang and the designer CPA. I can remember very clearly in the episode that when he was talking and explaining, when you come, the beginning of your business starts, and here, not the beginning of your business, but the beginning of your year starts, and you're having a conversation with your CPA. And if the CPA is new to you, he's going to say, or she's going to say, "Oh, what was your gross last year? What was your net? What was your this? What was your that?" But if he or she doesn't do the due diligence of saying, is there anything different in your future this year? Maybe last year you were on maternity leave for 6 months. You know what I mean? Maybe last year you had to step out and take care of a parent for 6 or 7 months. And maybe last year when you did 400,000 gross, that wasn't your normal. Maybe your normal is $1.5 million. And so what he said is you got CPAs that don't check in with you every month to see how your business is growing or not growing so that you can make real-time decisions on how you're doing your taxes and how you're taking care of your money so you don't get slammed at the end of the year. And that's my thing. It's like, you know what it is, Vita? See, now I'm crazy pants mad, right? You can hear it. Like, I didn't know that this happened, and it hit me like right between the eyes. But it's like if we were to say to an interior designer, who gives us their fabric, and we make a drape out of it, and the drape is like a rag. What do they call it? A schmata, right? A schmata, right? And then if we were to look at them and say, well, you should have known that that's a crappy fabric to make a drape out of. It's like, really though? Should they have, or should we have known? Okay. And so that's like, my heart is just broken right now for this, because I know that you are an intentional business owner, and any one of us can get stuck and caught in something that we didn't know we needed to know. And I didn't know I needed to know it. But you see, you weren't out there alone. You had a professional that was making money off of you, and that professional didn't do their job, and that pisses me off. Now, if you said to me, I got to say, the insurance agent called me 3 times last year. I didn't take the call. I was busy. I was running things. Now it's sort of like, okay. Right. But I don't know. Just like that kind of stuff makes me nuts.
Yes. And to go back to how we started, there were thoughts of, why didn't he call me? Why didn't he ask? Why didn't he do his job? Back to all those why? And
did he answer those questions, by the way? Because I would ask him.
So here's what happens, Luann, at the time of crisis, and this is what I learned. This is kind of another lesson. This is an ugly one. As soon as people that could potentially be liable or responsible for your situation find out about the crisis, they backpedal so
Run for the
fast,
hills.
and they find all sorts of excuses for why things didn't happen that should have happened. And even worse, not only do they go on the defensive, they go on the, like, the offense is the best defense. They go on the offensive. Vita, how could you? Why didn't you? What's wrong with you? I mean, this is the type of language I was getting
Whoa.
from some people. Yes.
Whoa.
So yeah. So that's kind of the ugly reality of this. Um,
See,
Here's what
I hope you're changing insurance agents because now I'm really pissed.
yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Okay,
for
good.
sure.
All right, good.
Um, the point is this, you guys. Whatever you need to do. Actually, not whatever. Here's what you need to do. Stop listening to us right now. If you don't believe 100% that your insurance is 100% covering what it is that you're doing in your business, where you're doing, how much you're doing, who you're doing it for, not just the liability part I'm talking about, the personal and the business property that you have gained, all of your assets. If you don't have that protected by somebody who you really, really trust, do it now. Stop listening to us right now. Pause this podcast and go figure out your insurance situation right now. Please. I truly beg you. This is my biggest lesson so far. This is an extremely expensive mistake to make, and I really don't want anyone else to have that kind of mistake and expense for them.
This is beyond comprehension. I mean, I got to imagine you're probably into six figures is what I got to believe, knowing, 138 projects.
Yeah.
OMG.
85 fabrics.
Oh my
And
God.
of course, a majority of them have to be, not majority, but a good portion of them have to be from Schumacher.
Yeah. So they're like $200 a yard.
P.S. Speaking of love from vendors, huge shout out to Stout, huge shout out to Mitchell's, Charlotte Fabrics. Others are escaping me at the moment. Huge shout out to those type of vendors who are willing to work with you, who are giving you that additional love. And unfortunately, there are some vendors that are not. Today, Luann, I got an email from a very big vendor in the industry who I've given a ton of business last year, a ton of business. And I said, so I placed my reorder, and I said, if your company can please consider extending some pricing considerations in light of the circumstances, I would really appreciate it. So she writes an email back, and this is all real life. This is crazy, like in real time, real life, not hypothetical, not in the past. This happened today. She says, you didn't do anything wrong. We didn't do anything wrong. The cost is the cost.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. You know what? Last order I would ever place. I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you right now. That is a hard, you can kiss my you know what. I am like literally on fire right now. Like that's beyond me. It is absolutely beyond comprehension to me. It's like you have to pay it forward. You have to be a good global citizen. You have to be a good partner to the people that work with you. So you can take my orders for your 14 years in business, and the first time I need a favor, it's not your fault. See you bye. Back that you are in my rear view mirror. I promise. I have had probably 4 situations in our life at Window Works in these 40 years where somebody has hit me with a line like that. And it's like, I just walk over to Vinny and I'm like, we've just placed our last order with this company. Or if he's the one in the conversation, he walks over to me and says, we've just placed our last order. And we don't go back.
Luann is not yelling, people. Luann is not yelling.
Sometimes she is, though. Sometimes she is, though. That is just the thing. No, I'm sorry. You know what? Here's what's crazy about that response. 10% would have made
I
you
know.
feel heard
Exactly.
and understood. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? What are we talking about? A couple of $100, $800? I don't know what it doesn't matter. You see, because that person in my mind, like that insurance agent and that company, that's it. See you bye. Like now you don't want to give up that 10%, so you give up 100%. Because that's just not kosher. That's bull.
What I've really learned in the last, I mean, it's incredible how you can uh, go through your life, and every day is just like any other day, and then boom, something happens, and you grow in the next 2 weeks more than you've grown in the last 2 years. Well, so the last 2 weeks have definitely been growth opportunity, we'll call it that way for me,
Mm-hmm.
and learning opportunity. So what I've learned, Luann, is that people show their true colors
Mm.
during crisis.
Oh yeah.
It's what it really shows what you're made of, and you
Mm-hmm.
can really see the strengths in people. You can see their weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
You can really see their value systems. You can, I mean, there are most of designers that I work with. They all reached out to me. They called, emailed. I mean, we're like drowning in flowers here, which
Aw.
is beautiful. But even with that, like there are some vendors that are like, nope, it's your loss, and there it is, and the price is the price. And then there's some people who have not heard from yet to this day, even though we do quite a bit of business with them. It's just very interesting how people show up, companies show up, how the true colors really show up during situation like
It's
this.
so true. I wrote an article for Window Fashion Vision magazine last summer when COVID hit and different things, and I said, there's that saying that like adversity builds character, and I was like, adversity just reveals the character you have. Like it
Yeah,
really does. It just reveals
yeah,
it. Who are you when your back is against the wall and somebody's got their, you know, hand around your neck? What are you doing? How are you acting? What's happening? You know what I'm saying? And in this case,
hmm,
when it's an opportunity to help a colleague, and the thing that gets me crazy about this is these are companies that you are patronizing year after year after year after year. It's like fine to take the money when everything's happy go lucky, right? The same
right,
with the insurance company. I mean, that's different
yeah.
because it actually is laws and coverages and are paid and policies are executed. He or she just did a poor job. That's the thing, right? But this other is a decision. And the thing is, I would tell you, Vita, in my opinion, is if you got the answer from the highest up, then okay. But if you got the answer from somebody mid-level management,
Hmm, hmm.
that's where sometimes a mid-level manager is not applying the values of the actual owner of the company. That's why I'm not surprised Stout stepped up, because they're
Yeah,
run by the owners. They give a crap.
that's
They're
right.
boots on the ground. Like, the owners of the company are not 16 steps removed, you know what I mean,
Exactly,
from the
exactly.
process. But if you're dealing with a company where the owners are 16 step removes, you might at least just try to get
Yeah.
to ownership, because I had a situation here in my world, Luann Nigara Inc. world, in the last month, that something was revealed to me that somebody spoke for me. And when I heard it, I was like, no, see, I did not say that. I didn't know this
Mm,
conversation happened. But it was told to this person, Luann said she wants it this way. And I was like, huh.
hmm.
But see, she didn't, and she didn't know that this happened. And so all I'm saying is
Yeah.
that maybe there's a mid-level manager that's just like, you know what, this is too much hassle, and we're probably going to say no, so let me just say no. And
Yeah.
then when
It's
the
it's
owner says
possible.
no, now we can, hit the dirt. You know.
Yeah. And you're right. In one instance, there was few instances where I did go as high up as I could, and there were a couple of instances maybe I can revisit it. But I do have to say, for example, Kravet. There's another company that I did mention a few minutes ago, but another one who really stepped up and kind of showed their love and appreciation.
I'm not at all
And
surprised. I'm telling
right,
you,
right,
they're
exactly,
they're
right,
they're
right.
not
Hmm.
so far removed. That's what it is. And
Yeah.
even Kravitz, you didn't put the question to Carrie or to Scott. I know it, or to Ellen any of them. But the thing is, the management team at Kravit, just like at Stout, is in direct communication on a regular basis with the ownership team. And they run it with the values that are expressed from top down. And that's
Well,
the
and
difference.
and I think you just hit the nail on the head. It's the values that need to be expressed and reinforced and nurtured and continuously communicated from the top down. And it's clearly done with some companies and clearly not done with some others.
And,
But
it was a lesson to me in my company when this recently happened. I'm like, so you need to speak your values to your people more often. You need to express this. You need to understand. They need to understand what it is you would say if you were going to say it. Sweetie, they don't make this stuff up.
Right. Now, on the positive note, speaking of people showing their true colors and values aligning, I cannot say enough about my staff. I mean, it was just incredible, absolutely incredible. We all happened to be there on March 5th in our studio. Even my husband was there too, even though he usually isn't, but it so happened that he was. So there was 5 of us, and we all rushed out of the office, and we all were safe. But then we kind of reconvened and we regrouped right after the fire. We went back. We were allowed to go back to pick up some things. We were even allowed to go back the next day. Everybody stepped up. We loaded up everybody's cars. I mean, imagine the smell and the soot and everything that goes with it. I mean, everybody rolled up their sleeves. Nobody was afraid to get dirty. And I mean, we're talking dirty. I mean, this is like ash and soot and water and mush. That you have to, all of that mixed in with like foam and cushions and fabrics. Oh yeah, it's pretty. It's a pretty picture. So, but not a single person was afraid to roll up their sleeves and not get their hands dirty. And just incredible. I mean, my poor Beata, as we were watching the smoke come out of the building, she's trying to rush in. We had to hold her back. She's like, no, my fabrics, I get replaced. We're holding poor girl back. We're like, no, you're not going into a burning building.
Oh my goodness.
So from that standpoint, very, very lucky to have amazing people. And having said that, part of this whole process and part of the learning process and realizing that you're the leader in this and really stepping into this leadership role, I did see that people process this differently. For some, it was full on action and full on trying to understand what can we salvage, what can we save, how can we make this work at the least possible cost, what can be like made do, what can we jerry rig, maybe we don't need something we can make do with something else. So there were those types of mindsets, and at the same time some others may have been a little bit lost and a little bit kind of like, I'm not sure what to do.
I need a breath, right?
Following for the last however many months and years is no longer, and and they just kind of felt a little bit defeated, and they really needed to be put on the path and say, this is your step number 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is what you do for today, and then we'll think about tomorrow. So and understanding that everybody processes things differently and treating people individually was a learning process as well. Very fast learning process. I mean, I'm talking about like minutes and hours, not months and years.
Well, and that's a lesson repeated from COVID in general. It's a lesson. I mean, that was a big lesson for us in Window Works with COVID. And I remember talking to many designers over the past year and having that be one of the repetitive, repeating lessons is that everybody does process things differently, and you have to allow for that, especially when it's something that's out of your control, like the pandemic, like a fire. It's completely out of the control. Somebody's not processing their own, stuff in a right way. You don't have to put up with that, right? You can say, look, this doesn't align. But when it's out of everyone's control, you as the leader, to your point, Vita, in giving the grace, right? That's how many times we've said that in the last year. Giving the grace for the space and the time for each person to process it and digest it and, come out in their own way. And I have to say, it's it's so nice to hear about the way your staff came together and worked hard and helped you, within 2 days, what you didn't even miss. I mean, you were Friday back in business on Monday.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like legit, right? That's not an
yeah.
exaggeration. Yep.
It's not an
Nope.
exaggeration. Legit, 100%.
Sewing
Yep,
on Monday, right? And so
yep.
the thing is that it goes back to what we just said is the values of the owners of the company, the values of the leader. So your people know you and they believe in you and they know that you are there leading the way, doing the things that need to be done, and that you have created a business that really is well run. It's not, smoke and mirrors. And so they're following your lead and they care about it like you care about it. And so it's the secondary thing there. So here's the thing. You spent the last 2 years scaling your business up. Okay. I know that as the weeks unfold and our, conversations over the coming months unfold, that there will be other lessons that you will get from it. There's no question. It's too big of an event to just be capsulated in these couple of weeks here. However, right out the gate, here you are, you're teaching, scaling your window treatment business to $1 million at Lou University. And
Yeah.
I bet you just added a line in your syllabus there about check your insurances.
It's interesting. I kind of I was always sure of what I am teaching because
Yes.
I've been living it
Yes.
for the last 2 years. But this event, it's like it makes you even, I mean, this is real in real time
Yes.
kind of thing. You know what I mean? I'm not hypothetical. I'm not making it up. I'm
Right.
not saying in case you have a fire, in case you have a devastation, in case you have a flood, in case of death, in case of accident, in case of anything, make sure to have XYZ.
Right.
I'm saying I had this,
Right.
and this is where I went great, and this is where I went really bad.
Right, right. Well, and the thing is, the syllabus is all about the importance of of creating the systems, the documentations of the systems, how they allow you to onboard, they allow you to grow, they allow you to scale, all of the things. And, to your point, here is the proof. Not only in the fact that you did scale, but the proof in the other major reason for the importance of it. But it's like, if you have this big aha and learning experience, if we see, this is where, Luann gets all, there is always something to be learned, and something is much better to have it on your first million than your fifth or 6 million.
Oh, that's my silver lining.
Right? Like, I mean,
That I'm
seriously,
only
look
on my
at,
first and not the third or the fifth.
well, I'm thinking about Window Works right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, we just invested $1 million in a building and outfitting it. That was completed in, January of last year, January of 2019. Could you imagine if, our insurance wasn't in place? So we could not have personally funded that rebuild. You see, that's what I'm saying about once, not only when you scale, everything scales, the risk scales, right? And so we would be looking around at 13 or 14 employees now and saying, okay, we're a minute and a half from retirement age. Do we liquidate to do this over again, or are 13 people out of business? Like, what happens out of
Wow.
jobs, right?
Wow. Yeah,
Right.
you're
Think
right.
about it.
You're
Vinny's
absolutely
73 years
right.
old in a month. So,
Yep.
well, let's see.
Wow.
Let's sell the houses so that we can do this and do that. But what? Like, we don't have a retirement now? So
Yeah.
I can't imagine that decision. Okay. And that's my point. And so you too, Vita, will create whatever business you want. If you want your business to be a $4 million business one day, I know it will be. If you choose to run it lean and mean and stay between that $1 and $2 million mark and keep it on, you will. But my point is, it's now eyes wide open on all the
Yeah.
things. You know what I'm saying?
100%. And also parlaying that to personal life too. It's not just the devastation plan for the business, it's devastation plan for personal life. So just the other day, my husband and I were sitting at a kitchen table and saying, if we have a fire in our house, So it's one kid in one arm, and then I have a spare arm. What can I grab? What am I grabbing? What is the one thing I'm grabbing with that one spare arm as I'm running out the door?
Right, right,
Right.
right, right,
And
right.
of course, but there's more than that. The devastation plan is a lot more. It's the insurances, it's the wills, it's the paperwork that it needs to be done, you guys. It
Yes.
it's so, for me at least, it was so easy to get wrapped up in business. It was so fun. It's thrilling.
Mm,
It's the everyday hustle and bustle, stopping to think about protection and what it is that I need to kind of, more of a maintenance mode, I guess. It's just like, oh, who wants to
yeah.
do that? Like have those riders on insurance and extensions and more money for what? For maybe someday something.
Right.
Not that that thought process ever went through my head. It wasn't that I didn't want to pay the
Right.
money.
You
It's
didn't
just
have
that
the
I just never
option.
got to it.
No, and I know. Listen, I am all for taking accountability of ourselves, but I have to say, it is also the insurance agent job. That's just like me and you expecting designers to know everything about window treatments. That's not logical. That's not logical. And so I have to say, when I engage with a professional, I literally tell them. Like when I hired Perlo Productions for Luann Live,
Yeah.
6 figures on the line for this. And I looked at him and I said, listen, I don't know the first thing about this. I've shared with you my vision. I've told you
Yeah.
exactly what I see. I said, I don't even know if my vision's big enough. If you hear my vision and you think it should be bigger, I want you to tell me. But here's the thing. When I sign this contract with you, you are going to tell me the schedule of the meetings. You are going to come to me and say, here's the timeline. You're going to go to my assistant and put all the meetings in the calendar. I said, don't wake up in December and say, well, it's a little late for us to do that now because you didn't remind me that we should
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
When I hire
Right.
a professional, I tell them exactly what I expect from them. And the time for them to tell me is that I'm out of my mind, that they can't do that, is before I give them my money. Because
Yeah.
if you tell me then I make the choice to go ahead with you, or I say, never mind, not you. Right?
Yeah.
It's the same.
Yeah.
The crazy thing, Minnie couldn't believe I said this to my banker. I walked in when I opened up all the accounts for Luann. I said, here's the thing. I don't ever want one thing to go wrong with this account. He's like looking at me like, what are you talking about? I said, I don't want a bounce check. I don't want to think. I don't even know half the crap that could go wrong with a bank account. I said, but I expect you to call me before you process one wiggy thing. I said, all of a sudden something's wrong and there's, tens of thousands of dollars out and it doesn't look right. Don't you darn let it slide. Do not let you. I said, I want a phone call. And he's like looking at me. And I said, so a bounce check if I did my numbers wrong and blah, blah, blah. I don't want notices. I don't want emails. I don't want things in the mail with little postcards. I want a phone call like this.
Yeah.
And he just looked at me and I said, and here's the thing. You don't have to say yes. If your process in your system is no, we're going to send you an email and then we're going to send you a postcard. We're good. You tell it to me now because I'm going to the next bank.
Yeah.
Because my Achilles heel is that, right?
Yeah.
It's like you said, we're busy. We're doing our stuff. You know what
Yep.
I'm saying? I'm not sitting around and double checking what I hired you to do. Come on. No.
I know, but I have to tell you, most of all, after all this, and I know it hasn't been a ton of time, and yet already, I mean, from the very beginning, I truly, deep down inside, I feel grateful. I feel so grateful that we're all okay. We were all inside that building, and it was electrical fire that destroyed it completely,
Whoa.
and we're all okay.
Yes.
We are okay. We're physically okay. I was going to say mentally otherwise, but I'm just kidding. We are okay. I'm so grateful that I have amazing people that are stepping up and doing what they're supposed to do. For my incredible husband, who is, poor thing, he's on a folding table in the spare bedroom, doing doing his thing, for vendors that are extending their love, for the design community. Oh my God, I put this out on social media, and the amount of love that I received back, and everybody's asking, what can I do? What can I do? And there's really not a whole lot that anyone can do, really. But I have to tell you, that energy, those vibes, that good juju, we feel it. We know it's there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's carrying us forward. I mean, the flowers, the dinner cards. God, I got a dinner card from Natasha Jones. That was so sweet. My
Aw.
neighbors are buying me dinners, right? I'm gonna get fat through household from all the takeout. It's just the amount of love and support, the outpouring of it. You hear it from other people on TV and stories, and you just like, yeah, that's great, that's okay, but okay, I'm just gonna go about my own life. And here you are finding yourself in the same situation. You just saw someone on TV after devastation. You're like, wow, it's real. When they talk about outpouring of love, yeah, I feel it right
Mm,
now, right this second, in my own heart, in my own gut. Like, it's real. It really is real, Luann. And
that's
for that,
awesome.
I feel grateful. I mean, the rest, it's just money. I
Yeah.
mean, and I love money. Like, don't get
Hey,
me
you
wrong.
work hard for it.
Money's great. I love money. But at the end of the day, I know we're going to be okay. We're
Hmm.
going to be okay.
Well, you're pretty remarkable, Vita. I knew that the first time I talked to you, and I just, I swear to goodness, I did. I remember it. um, thank you for sharing, your story, your lessons. It's really, as I said, it's a broken record, just hammers home the importance of having documentation and systems and how it can really, because think about how difficult this is for, just the process of it and trying to, I know you're doing it, but there is a level of trying to put one foot in front of each another every single day. If you were also fighting against not having the documentation and the systems,
Mm-hmm.
that would be, I don't
Oh
know,
yeah.
yeah, forget it. That would be,
Yeah.
forget it. So, anyway, well, thank you. We're sending you all, like as you just said it a few moments ago, Blanche Garcia said it at Luann Live, all the
Yep.
good juju. We're
Yep.
sending you all the white light and the good juju.
Please,
Yeah.
please keep on sending that. We're gonna need it for the foreseeable future, and that's
Yeah.
the best that anyone can do.
Yeah. All righty. Hang in there, lady.
Thank you.
So it is, as I said, right? We have been you've been listening to me for the last couple of years that Vita's been doing WTF with me, just gush on her efficiencies and her protocols and her systems. And here it is, the proof in the pudding right here. And I want to tell you that it's a rare business owner that has things locked down to this level. It's not that I don't run across colleagues that are like this. Sarah Brennan comes to mind. She is also, and Sandra Funk, as I mentioned in the episode. But it is rare. So many of us, like in WindowWorks, I said to you in WindowWorks, we wouldn't have been in that position. It is not because WindowWorks doesn't have the systems. The systems have the systems at WindowWorks, believe me. But they are very much paper-based. I can tell you that often I will find myself at WindowWorks at nights and weekends. So will Kim, so will Vinny, so will anybody from the team, JC, Rich, whatever, because, we have certain amount that is cloud-based. And then there's a certain amount that we just need to, I've got to get my hands on the paperwork for that piece of information. And I have marveled at Vita over these last couple of years for this particular quality and the way she has, with absolute diligence, really is the word for it, just continued to perfect and refine how she runs her business, and like I said, from a documentation in the cloud standpoint. In fact, that she's going to be teaching the class in Lou University. It's starting April 8th. Today happens to be the last day for early bird registration, by the way. But it is how to scale your window treatment business to your first $1 million. And the thing is, do you know that I am having my office coordinator and our sales assistant take that class. Now, WindowWorks is going to hit 4 million this year. At least that's the way the numbers are looking already. Okay. That's what our projection is. So why am I putting my people in a class that's scaled to 1 million? Well, because I know we're missing that component of putting that organization in the cloud. And I have sent my showroom administrator and Kim to spend the day with Vita and her people to try and understand how she does it and to try and take it back to WindowWorks. And of course, we did take some things back when we did that. But it's, it's hard to pick something up and really make a big change in your business in a 2 or a 3 hour visit. And this is 6 weeks. This is 6 weeks of everything she has done in order to position herself to manage and operate $1 million business with the small team that she has. And so in my mind, I have 3 salespeople that are each last year sold $1 million. This year will probably each sell $1.25 million each. But so they're almost like tiny little islands, right, of $1 million businesses. And if my showroom coordinator and my sales administrator can really, in that 6-week period, grasp the way that she organizes her business on the cloud, then that is going to impact WindowWorks and our efficiency and our productivity. Because I would love to be, I was about to say, I would love to be the seat that Vita's in right now. Of course, that's insanity, right? We understand that no one wants to be in that seat. But if I had to be in the position that she's in, I would love to be able to handle it in the way that she does and is able to because of what she's built into her business. And that is not the case right now. And so if you are also listening and that is not the case for your business, for your window treatment business in particular, then I encourage you to go to luannuniversity.com and read about the 6 modules that Vita has designed, because she is literally going to pull back the curtain and give you everything. Templates, forms, all of the things. So, and it was about a month ago that Vita was on WTF with me, and we did a more in-depth conversation about that. So please head over to that if you're on the fence. Keeping in mind that today is the last day for early bird. Tomorrow the price goes up an additional $300. And if you were at Luann Live, you know that you have your code that is good for you only. And so really, if you're thinking about doing this, the difference between registering today and tomorrow is $600 because your code gives you another $300 off. Okay, so here's the thing. Is this a commercial for Luann University? Yes and no, right? Because Vita just told you how efficiently she was able to, within hours of literally having her studio burned to the ground, download and see right in front of her all of her liability. Every single project, every single piece of fabric, every blind, everything that was ordered, and have it organized. Okay. So yes, this is an advertisement for her class in Luann University, because if we don't have that in our business, don't we want that in our business? Right. So, but again, on the other side, it's not necessarily, this is a testament to Vita, and this is a, it's a swan song to her, because I feel like over the last couple of years that she's been co-hosting this show with me, I kind of make a joke all the time about how she's the Excel spreadsheet queen and she's the queen of processes. And I've always known it to be truly, truly true. And I think now what I love is it's so clear that you can't deny it. And so now you know why she has so highly and so very much impressed me over these last several years as I've gotten to know her. So I just want to say, let's just continue to send insane white light to Vita, her team, her family on getting through this. She's a trooper, and she hasn't cried over the spilt milk yet. But it's not easy. You come here and you talk about it and you tell us all the things that you've done. But at the end of the day, where you go to work every day has been destroyed. And that's a very, very sad, emotional thing. And so we don't lose sight of that. And I also want to say that Vita called out Natasha Jones for sending her a gift card. And I happen to know from Vita that in the days since we recorded that she received several more gift cards, and you guys know who you are. And so she, ended up leaving me a message, and she's like, oh my goodness, I only said Natasha, but I've gotten so many in the mail since then, and I just feel so happy and so grateful. I feel funny that they were not called out to. So of course, there's a difference from the time we record till the time we air. So all of you that have reached out and sent her a card or sent her a gift card or sent her flowers, whatever it is that you've done, know that she truly appreciates it. And that is part of what's really cool about our community here, right? That we actually do care about each other. We know each other. We pay attention to each other, and we help each other when it's time. And so my great thanks to you for showing up today. Like I said, let's take a page out of Blanche's notebook. We called it out let's send her some good juju, right? Let's send her some good juju. And, the other lessons in there before I go, I just got to say, do your diligence. When I did bring it up to Vinny, I'm like, what's with our insurance? He says, oh no, our insurance agent comes in every single year. He literally schedules an on-site visit, and we review, did we buy another property? Did we expand the property? Do we have, higher sales? Do we have more trucks? Do we have more people? And they go through the whole thing. And so, you must expect this from the people you do business with. Okay. It should not be a demand. It should just be an actual accepted expectation. Okay. And so if you need to call your insurance agent now, if you have not seen their eyeballs for a while, then please do that. Set up a Zoom with them, have them review. And, don't take no for an answer. And don't say, oh yeah, I'm sure it's fine. We don't have to do it for an answer. No. You want to do a page by page review. What do I have? Does it protect me? It's, as I said in the show, how Peter does it with his clients, Peter Lang, the designer CPA, how he does it with his clients as far as reviewing the business consistently. Okay. No surprises. All right. Anyway. Okay. I'm done. Thank you so much for showing up today. I appreciate it. I'm grateful for you that you do it. And you know that I have to ask you, I have to say every single time, decide to be excellent. Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be, all of that is found at luannigara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.